The 16-year-old boy who was killed in his bedroom by gang members with machetes in front of his own mum, as one of the members fled to Gambia for 2 years in order to avoid arrest.
I literally just fell to pieces. I just didn't know what to do.
I actually just fell to the ground.
I just yelled, I just screamed, I screamed, and I started to go into a panic.
Romario Gordon forced his way into Camron Smith's home in South London with a group before stabbing him to death in front of his mother in her bedroom.
This story takes place in Croydon, South London, a borough known for being dangerous, with multiple stabbings and shootings taking place in only the space of a year. This case won't be any different because it's linked to the heavy gang war running through the Croydon area. The gang war I'm referring to is LPW versus CR0, but the gang relevant to this case is LPW, which is an alliance of smaller gangs in Croydon who share the same beef. LPW stands for Lil Patch's World and was formed after his death. You see, Lil Patch's body was found in the River Thames, with it being alleged that the rival gang tied his feet together and threw him in the river to die. But to this day, the case remains unsolved. Some of the groups that are part of LPW consist of STK, Stab to Kill, Fifth, VP, Valley Park and Green Lanes. The victim in this case, Camron Smith, was allegedly part of the STK gang, also known as S-Town, and will go by the name Els. The suspects involved in the killing were part of the Green Lanes gang, with the main suspect, Romario Gordon, going by the name Lil Grinner. With the two gangs being in alliance, you're probably asking yourself why this murder took place. But you see, the Green Lanes gang would have a falling out with the rest of the LPW alliance after the death of another gang member called Jets. On the 8th of August 2017, a Valley Park gang member called Jets will be chilling with Green Lane members, but around 11 PM, rival members from the CR0 gang will pull up and begin chasing them with large machetes and wearing balaclavas. The CR0 members will catch up to Jets and start stabbing him multiple times until his body stopped moving. The Green Lane members were already long gone by this time, and Jets was pronounced dead in hospital a couple hours later from severe blood loss. An investigation was launched which saw the arrest of 4 different CR0 members, and these 4 will be found guilty for the murder of Jets. They were sentenced to life with a minimum of 22 years, 20 years and 18 years, with a girl in the group getting 12 years for manslaughter. The death of Jets caused a divide between Green Lanes and the rest of the LPW gangs, as they blamed G Lane for leaving Jets to die. This will kickstart the tit-for-tat violence in Croydon between gangs that were once cool with each other. A couple weeks before this case takes place, it's alleged that LPW members had robbed and stabbed a Green Lanes member, and once the gang got news of what happened, they wasted no time and started planning their revenge. On the evening of Wednesday the 30th of June 2021, Romario and what is believed to be 3 other Green Lane members robbed a taxi driver in Streatham, stealing his cab at knife point. They then used the stolen vehicle to drive across South London, entering multiple addresses in Croydon, looking for the people that attacked the member while armed with zombie knives. At the first address they broke into, a woman asleep in her bed was woken up by a masked man in the room. Whoever the gang was looking for was not in that house. The group gained access to the second address but left within seconds. CCTV captured the gang moving from location to location, carrying weapons and wearing masks. Then around midnight on the 1st of July 2021, the gang forced their way into a house on Bacon Avenue in Croydon. This being the house of 16-year-old Camron Smith, also known as Els, from S-Town. The gang kicked open the front door and started to attack Camron, who was downstairs at the time. After a bit of a struggle, Camron managed to get away and run upstairs to a bedroom, where he attempted to barricade himself and his mother inside. The gang forced their way to the bedroom and now pulled out large knives said to be around 16 inches in length. The mum, fearing for her son's life, stretched out her arms in between her son and the group in an attempt to stop them. She was even able to disarm one of the attackers by grabbing onto the weapon. But within minutes, Camron, who was unarmed and dressed only in his underwear, was surrounded and stabbed multiple times in front of his mum. Police and ambulance would later arrive following calls from neighbours about a robbery going on. But when the emergency services arrived, they were shocked to see a 16-year-old boy laying in a pool of his own blood as his mum cries for him to wake up. It was already too late as 16-year-old Camron Smith died at the scene of the crime in front of his own mum. An investigation will now be launched into the murder of Camron Smith. Detectives gathered CCTV from buses, streets and doorbell cameras. They found a pattern. The group had entered 3 separate addresses that night, and the attack on Camron was part of their revenge plan to hunt down anyone involved in the attack of their friend. During the investigation, the police will hit a gold mine once they recovered a stolen taxi cab that had been abandoned in Hastings Road. Inside that taxi, forensic officers they recovered fingerprints and DNA evidence linking members of the group to the cab. This DNA evidence will be crucial in identifying all the suspects. The police will now start hunting down suspects based on witness statements and forensic evidence. Several members of what police described as Thornton Heath drug gangs were on their radar. 2 16-year-old boys were arrested but managed to get away with lesser charges of robbery, and there wasn't enough evidence directly linking them to the murder. The police kept on digging and were able to arrest 19-year-old James Olympecan from Croydon. James was their biggest catch so far, as forensic evidence showed he was present in the room when Camron was stabbed and had been in the taxi when the group was entering houses. James was jailed for 8 years for manslaughter and robbery following a trial in February 2023. The police were closing down on their suspects and the list was getting smaller. 3 names will now come into the picture: Romain Lapierre, Jordan Checo, and last but not least, Romario Gordon. The police were able to track down and arrest Romain and Jordan, but Romario was nowhere to be found. You see, 2 days after the murder, Romario knew he messed up, so he fled the UK via Heathrow Airport all the way to Gambia to avoid arrest as he had family there. I think it should be noted that this isn't Romario's first rodeo, and he's managed to beat a murder case before, back in 2020. On the 8th of March 2020, Romario, who was 16 years old at the time, was accused of stabbing 17-year-old Damani Mauj in the chest and neck as they were fighting on the 1:30 bus in Croydon. Damani collapsed on the pavement after the fight spilled on the street, which is when Romario tried to steal the gold chain on his neck as Damani was dying on the floor. While giving evidence in court, Romario denied intending to kill Damani, claiming it was an accident. He told jurors he carried a large hunting knife for his own protection and only got it out to fend off Damani, who was trying to attack him. The jury deliberated for 27 hours but found Romario not guilty of murder and even manslaughter, which is honestly insane in my opinion. But ultimately, Romario was able to beat the charges and was only found guilty of possession of an offensive weapon. You see, whilst Romario was hiding in Gambia for this murder case, Romain Lapierre and Jordan Checo will stand trial for their involvement in the death of Camron Smith. The court was told it was Romain who used a zombie knife and stabbed Camron in the stomach. Romain had previous convictions for carrying knives, including a samurai sword, machete, and hunting knife. In October 2023, Romain Lapierre was given a life sentence with a minimum of 28 years behind bars for murder and robbery. In relation to Jordan Checo, he had previous convictions related to him carrying kitchen knives in public. It was also found that he joined the G-Lane gang back when he was 13 years old after witnessing the stabbing of a close friend at the age of 10. Jordan was sentenced to 14 years in prison for manslaughter as he was present when Camron was being stabbed. The police were now doing all that they can to get Romario Gordon back in the UK so they can charge him for his involvement in the murder. The Met issued an international arrest warrant for Romario, but it seems he was well hidden in Gambia as no one knew his whereabouts. For unknown reasons, Romario made a return back to the UK 2 years later in August 2023. He was arrested straight away at the airport and taken into custody. The police had finally captured a man who managed to escape and could finally close the case. Even though Romario was hiding in Gambia, the police never stopped building up their case and now had a mountain of evidence on him. It was said that Romario was part of the masked group that forced entry into multiple homes that night, looking for certain people linked to an earlier stabbing. After Camron's death, Romario was captured on CCTV, fleeing in a stolen minicab and disposing of a large knife shortly after the attack. The DNA from the stolen minicab was used to link him to the events of that night. So in conclusion, 22-year-old Romario Gordon was not the person who delivered the fatal stab wound that killed Camron, but his presence, flight, possession of weapons, and forensic links provided enough evidence for the jury to convict him of manslaughter. At the time of recording this, Romario's sentence hasn't been handed down yet, but he was found guilty of manslaughter in September 2025 and will be sentenced at a later date. This case is just sad and goes to show you how gang involvement doesn't just affect the individual, but affects your family and friends as well. The fact that a mother had to watch her 16-year-old son get stabbed multiple times right in front of her is just a different level of pain. Romario had taken a life prior to this case and was able to get away with it, but the fact he still involved himself in this sort of lifestyle is just straight up mental illness. All these teenage boys are risking their freedom and some are becoming victims to the streets, all for a postcode that they don't even own. If you take anything from this video, please let it be that the gang life is just stupid and is not something you want to be involved in. Go out and put your energy into something else, and I'll see you lot in the next one. God bless.